Hey there, welcome to the Reinsurance Podcast, the place where we dive into all things reinsurance, the coolest part of insurance. We're your hosts, Jared and Ben, a couple of ex-practitioners who loved the industry so much we founded Supercede to tackle some of its biggest headaches. And we're here to share our insights and stories with expert guests as we uncover what's really going on in the industry.
Welcome everybody to a very special version of the Reinsurance Podcast. We're live back in Monaco, and I'm delighted to have as our first guest Rob Gibbs, the CEO of SiriusPoint International. How are you doing, Rob?
So I'm a little bit warm, I'm not going to lie, but I'm having a great Monte Carlo already. So yeah, lots of press, lots of partner meetings. It's great to be here.
And we got the better weather today after a downpour, deluge almost yesterday.
I was told that was unusual, but it was still quite clammy yesterday. So anyway, nice to see the sun, I'm not complaining.
Definitely. In the spirit of international, we'd love to hear how you found yourself at Sirius and what you're helping them achieve now.
Yeah, so I'll try and keep it short. So I guess 26 years ago I entered the insurance industry as a grad trainee for RSA. Was an underwriter in London, was loving life, doing deals, and actually had a passion for travel. So spent quite a lot of time as the head of underwriting for emerging markets.
Nice.
And then moved to run various businesses, so Motability, which is a dedicated motor scheme, and then latterly the head of commercial. I actually carved out then a bit of a niche for transforming businesses, so both the culture and the results. And having fixed commercial at RSA, if anyone can ever say that, just took a moment to think what was out there, and actually was looking for my next step for an entrepreneurial company, perhaps slightly smaller, in need of, I guess, a bit of a refresh and a new direction. And then having worked for Scott previously, Scott Egan, our CEO, moved across to set up International. If you don't know, International is the London branch, the Lloyd's Syndicate, Zurich Aviation team, and the trading team in Stockholm. And we'd had some challenge, I'm sure you've seen in our results in the past. And the aim was create an insurance business using the great people, driving the portfolio forwards.
Some dogs having a fight during our
some feedback behind us. And to create something going forward for SiriusPoint. So my transformation background, my strategy background, my underwriting background all came together, and I rolled the strategy out last year. And it's a strategy for growth, so transforming the portfolio, growing it, using both the EU licenses and the Lloyd's Syndicate to transform that business.
Fabulous. And I understand that spreads your time partly between London, partly between Stockholm, and presumably a fair bit of travel like now as well.
Yeah, so I obviously almost half of our business is in London, both through the syndicate and the branch. I'm regulated in Sweden, so I think I'm the only non-Swedish CEO in that market.
Exciting.
And it's a very important a base for us, and obviously our history in SiriusPoint is almost 80 years in the Nordics, so it's very important. The brand resonates really well there, and then of course, as I mentioned, really important market for us, aviation and space out of Zurich. But I'm in Bermuda, presenting to the board. I obviously sit on the exec, so in New York, supporting the rollout of the culture and the strategy for the group. So
Excellent. And so what does it mean for you coming to Monte Carlo? What's your sort of primary aims during the rendezvous?
Well, I'll be honest, so last year was my first Monte Carlo, and everyone said, well, where have you been, Rob, all this time? But actually, last year was about us re-engaging with the market. So I guess most reinsurers would know us as a reinsurer, and therefore last year was the first step of rolling out the strategy. What became clear to me last year was actually the reinsurance market and the strength of our brands, but equally the affiliation between the reinsurance market and MGAs is very strong. And the core part of my strategy was to balance both the tail nature of my book, but the volatility in aviation by partnering with MGAs, and I'm sure you've seen some of those. So for me, it's really exciting because actually you meet the end MGA, you meet the placement broker, and equally we meet people like you and those who specialise in both analytics, automated placement, those things that are emerging in the market. So it's key. But the most asked question is, Rob, what's SiriusPoint today and where are you heading? Which is exciting.
And you get to, I guess, show off your transformation credentials of the past and show how you're going to use them going forwards, I guess. Yeah, what are you teasing people with at the conference?
So for us this year, it's around our MGA proposition. As I said, the foundations are strong. The transformation and fix-up that we've driven across the group, so across all of the P&Ls, is done, and now we lift our head up a little bit more, so it's shoulders back, chest out, and we're driving growth and diversification across the portfolio. So I've mentioned mine and you know, the need there, but we've partnered based on the strategy I wrote on planes and trains with several MGAs, but we identified that actually we bring something quite different to the market in terms of our partnership approach. So we've been working with an external agency to formalise that, so it happens with every person on every interaction. And what's become clear to us is that it's less about the carrier, it's more about the MGA. So our job is to supercharge them and allow them to thrive. But there is a gap for a quality partner who really understands the MGA. And therefore our proposition is around wrapping a team of program managers, underwriters and oversight people around the MGA and delegated authority partner so that they shine. But obviously there's that framework and partnership. And that's what we've been talking to people, and we've had some great interest. Equally, the feedback as part of our insight was interviewing both our current partners and some prospects. And the feedback is we're winning because of who we are.
Very cool.
Less about what we bring in terms of fundamentals, which may to some of your viewers sound a bit strange, but being A-rated, having global licenses is almost table stakes.
Yeah, completely.
Everyone has a choice these days, and therefore what you stand for, your culture and that partnership approach counts as much as those fundamentals.
Oh, for sure. And I'd love to tap you, whilst we've got you on the episode here, in an environment where often the US themes sort of can dominate, with it being hurricane season, etc. What are the main, more general international themes that are coming up at the conference, Europe and beyond?
Well, I guess there is I've seen this morning a lot of press about the rise of the MGA, so obviously I've talked about that, and from my perspective, we've moved probably 15, 20 years ago from more of a consolidation volume MGA play to more of a specialist niche play. And for me, that's great, because that means that we're fulfilling a customer need and there's a value proposition, and therefore that relationship is more likely to be profitable, but equally more likely to have longevity. But the other theme that I do see, and everyone I speak to, is around the use of data and analytics. So of course it's key in analysing portfolios. As we look at new MGAs, we spend our lives doing that. But things such as AI for automation, more slick placement. I think you guys have done some work around, enhancement of data for better reinsurance placement, as well as the management of the placement process. And I'm seeing a lot of that as well. And of course, we always see the tension of, is it relationship or can you automate these things? The answer for me is there'll always be a need for relationship. Us sitting here is based on a relationship. However, do you need expensive people to do some of those more tasks that can be made more efficient? Can you get better insights at times from your data and analytics? And we talked about my journey before, but I've used data and analytics in the past. So certainly when running a fleet of vehicles that was 550,000, we were tracking parts inflation, bodily injury claims, driver behaviour. And so it's very exciting that you couldn't do without armies of people. people. But yeah, I guess they're the main themes for me.
Are you able to bring that data and technology theme into your role at Sirius now as
for
well?
sure. So we're looking at the moment at advancing our technology investment in boardroom management tools.
Makes sense.
But actually, I've just left a meeting up on the hill with partners who are talking around the automation of placement. So we're seeing again more of that. I'm sure you've seen that. So once you identify a strong lead, how do you automate the fast follow markets who can align to that particular individual and use that data to align appetite but also drive placement.
It's very exciting, isn't it? I wonder whether that gives us the courage or not to sort of make some predictions about the year to come or what we'll be talking about next year, but maybe at least how are we looking as we get towards 1/1s?
So I think it's interesting. So as I said, I'm not a 30-year veteran of Monte Carlo, but certainly the theme last year was all property nat cat. Was obviously I was asked about our remediation of our book. This year there's definitely a casualty theme. So social inflation, is that driving enough price? Did we get our past reserving wrong and put perhaps too much credence on the COVID years in terms of patterns? And the interesting thing for me is casualty is quite a broad church. At one end you have D&O and financial lines, which have been soft for some time, but at the other end you have the excess layers, med-mal, a commercial auto, which definitely needs rate because there'll always be that backdrop of litigation and social inflation.
Yeah, completely. Oh, exciting. And anything that you're particularly excited to have sort of checked off the list by the time perhaps we meet again next year?
Apart from a podcast on a yacht.
Well, it's true. We set the bar high to begin with.
So I would say that for me, the best bit of my job is meeting new partners and existing partners. We have a very strong pipeline of new partners. I'm meeting a couple over the next couple of days. And bringing to life the change. So I think perhaps culture's an overused word, but I've talked a lot in the last few minutes around how we partner. We've been focusing very much not only on what we're going to do in the future, but how we're going to do it. And certainly the internal feedback in our Lloyd's culture surveys shows that we've transformed the business. And talent are stepping towards us and saying, do you know what, Rob, I've worked for a long time in different markets. I see an opportunity to shape something, and we are very fast. We're very nimble now in our sort of conceptualizing and adopting of different strategies. And the great news is our partners are feeling it already, and we're winning. So
that's brilliant. I think we saw, I don't know if you were there as well, but John Neal this morning talking about 75% of the sort of Lloyd's London market leadership being over 50. So there is that new generation to embrace, I guess, at this point. So
and I think on that point, I was there and I did see some of the stats. And I think the broker community, I think it's something like 80% are above 30, and as someone who left university, so first generation university attendee in my family, I'll be honest, I didn't know what the insurance market could give me. I've been to over 30 countries, I've transformed businesses. I was in Chile the day after the earthquake in 2010, supporting the team and writing the new strategy. I guess we've just all got to tell our stories a bit more, because it is an exciting place. And not only the relationship angle, but equally, as we said, the data and that sort of, if you're more mathematically minded, analytical, there's place for everyone, really.
Definitely. And now the final cherry on the cake is, I guess, you get to come on a yacht and do some podcasting to celebrate all the fabulous work you've been doing with SiriusPoint.
Yeah, so it is great to be here. And I, as I said, didn't know what to expect last year, but was proud to fly the flag. This year, we have a great story. As I said, the shoulders are back a bit more, the transformation's done, and it is all about scale and growth for us. And the good news is we're achieving it and people are feeling it. So, I feel the sun's shining both at SiriusPoint, but also obviously here as well. So.
Brilliant. Well, Rob, it's been fantastic having you with us. I'm really excited to see what's going to come over the next year with SiriusPoint. Thanks again for joining us.
Thank you, Ben.
Thanks for tuning in to the Reinsurance Podcast. If you enjoyed our show, don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and leave us a review to let us know how we're doing, preferably 5 stars. For more insights and updates, follow us on LinkedIn and visit our website at supercede.com/podcasts. You'll find the links in the show notes.